Hi there, folks. What do you think about that rock and roll music, man? Who would have ever thought that I would be that guy? I used to do AC/DC and Metallica and stuff, and now I got that. That's really music, just comes with Restream. But, folks, welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic, and I love doing these live streams and telling people exactly what it is that I do to achieve that. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around for this live stream. More than that, you know what? Chances are you've been invited to this live stream. And if that's the case, that means that somebody thinks that the information I'm going to share in this live stream may be a benefit to you. So stick around. I'm about an hour long, maybe a little bit long of an hour. And I try to be actually entertaining. I try to give out a lot of really useful information. I'm the kind of guy that I know my place. I know I get it. I'm not a doctor. I'm none of the above. So what I like to do is actually show the proof. I like to put the proof up there, let you go and do the research yourself and see why these things work. So if somebody's invited you to this, chances are they think that that might be something you'd be interested in and something that might help you. More than that, if you are one of these people who is on the system and you are wanting to tell people about it, because that happens, this is the perfect time to invite somebody into the live stream. So invite away. And actually, I'm going to encourage people to do that. Go ahead and throw out, 5 invites. And the way that you do that, so we're live on like 15 different platforms. I don't know that everybody knows that, but we are live on YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. We're on Rumble. We're on a lot of these different platforms. So if you're on one of those platforms, share this out on that platform. On YouTube, you can just share the entire live stream. On Facebook, there's that little, you can type the @ symbol in the comment and start typing somebody's name. And once you type their name, you can hit enter. You'll see their name kind of populate, hit enter, and you're good to go. So this is fun. This is life-saving. This information is life-saving, definitely life-changing. And I've got an amazing guest testimonial today. I've only known this gentleman for a short period of time, and he's already made a big impact on my life. And I can't wait for you to hear his story because it's quite powerful. Get a box of tissues. Okay, so what are we here for? For those of you that have been invited to this live stream, you're like, what is this guy talking about? Why are we here? What's up, Jazz fan? How are you, Kev Dog? How are you, my friend? Kev, stick around and listen to this live stream, buddy. This gentleman tonight, it's a powerful testimony, a lot like yours, my friend. Okay, so what are we here for? Well, we're here for health. More specifically, metabolic health. Are you struggling with weight, high blood pressure, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, cholesterol, skin tags around your neck or chest area, that darkening or discoloration of the skin around your neck or chest area, maybe on your eyes here, maybe inner thighs, back of the elbows. That's called acanthosis nigricans. It's related to the conversation that we're going to be talking about today. Maybe you've got some mental depression issues. Maybe you've got some mental health issues. That plays into this as well. I just uploaded a video to my Facebook, and it talks about psoriasis. You have psoriasis. That plays into this conversation here. So what are we talking about? Well, I introduced myself as I'm Jim, and I used to have type 2 diabetes. I beat it. I have reversed it. And that's something that just 5 years ago was considered unattainable, not really something that people could do. And I've done it. I had a 12.2% A1C. I now have a completely unmedicated, by 3 years, completely unmedicated 5.1% A1C. 5.1, 5.2. I forget, one of the two. It's a beautiful A1C. And I've been unmedicated for over 3 years. So what did I do to reverse that type 2 diabetes? And how does this play into obesity and heart disease and these sorts of things? Well, the root cause of all those is something called insulin resistance. And we're going to talk a lot about insulin resistance today. So I'm really curious, how many of you in the audience have heard of insulin resistance? If you've heard of it, just type you know what, let's do this a little bit differently. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 means you've heard of it, you don't know anything about it. And 10 means, and 0, of course, would mean you've never heard of it. And 10 means you're an expert on it. Give me a number range of where you're at. 0, you've never heard of it. 10, you are an expert on it. I'm curious what people's understanding is of this, because it's important. And when I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, what I know now is that should have been the first thing they taught me, and nobody ever talked about it. And had they have, I think I would have been unmedicated a lot sooner. And more than that, had we have talked about this with friends or family that have been struggling with some of these metabolic issues, maybe we could have helped them. Maybe they would have had longer lives. And that's what we're talking about here. Okay, so Aaron says a 1. Okay, love it, Aaron. Mary says a 7. That's a pretty strong score, Mary. Wonderful. Okay, so let me give a high-level overview of what this is. What is insulin resistance? Well, to understand what is insulin resistance, we kind of have to first understand what is insulin. So I like to just really back it up to there. What is insulin? So insulin, first off, it's a hormone. It's the most active hormone in your body. It literally touches every single cell in your body. So one of the jobs of that hormone is to act, it helps regulate glucose. So let's talk about that aspect of it. And I'm going to do something here really quick. I do like to always show proof of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. Oh, this screen right here. Okay, so this is from the Centers for Disease Control, and it talks about insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. And I would encourage you to take a screenshot of this and then go and actually read for it yourself. This is, again, from the Centers for Disease Control. So what is insulin resistance? Well, when you consume a carbohydrate, your body converts that carbohydrate into sugar. Now, there's all kinds of sugars in the world. We're going to talk a lot about glucose tonight, because that's what glucose, when our body converts that carbohydrate, it converts it into glucose. Now, glucose is the type of sugar that your cells use for energy. That is their fuel source. They need glucose. Now, the problem is the cell is locked. It doesn't just get the glucose. And so what happens is anytime there is glucose present in the bloodstream, it signals your pancreas to secrete the hormone insulin. Insulin goes out to the bloodstream. It reacts with the cell. It kind of unlocks the cell. It acts, think of it like a gatekeeper or a key. It kind of unlocks the cell, and the glucose is able to be absorbed. Voila, perfect world, right? The glucose levels begin to normalize, and then the hormone, the insulin levels, begin to normalize as well. Now, that process, that insulin level normalizing thing, might take 6 or 8 hours or more. Okay, but this is a perfect world. That's how it works in a perfect world. But what about an imperfect world? I always point that out because, well, we live in an imperfect world. So what happens when you consume the carbohydrate? The body converts it to glucose. The glucose goes out to the bloodstream, but the pancreas doesn't secrete any insulin. Well, this is what a type 1 diabetes problem is. So because their body doesn't make the insulin, there's nothing to unlock the cell. And so what would happen without the insulin? Well, their glucose levels would begin to climb and climb and climb, and eventually they'll become toxic and they will kill the type 1 diabetic. That is exactly their problem. So in 1918, the University of Toronto discovered insulin, and they were able to patent it, and they sold that patent to Eli Lilly. Maybe you've heard of Eli Lilly, Mounjaro, Zepbound, Trulicity. They're all owned by Eli Lilly. They bought the patent from the University of Toronto for $1. And the idea was the University of Toronto knew that this discovery of insulin, it was so groundbreaking and it was life-saving. You know, we need insulin to survive. They knew the magnitude of this, and they knew that they could not supply the world with it. So they sold it to a company that could, Eli Lilly. I think that was a relatively good investment for Eli Lilly. What do you think? Anyway, Eli Lilly took that, and now the global human insulin drug market's about $45 billion per year. It's a big market. Anyway, let's talk about type 2 diabetics. What's the difference between a type 1 and a type 2? Remember, a type 1, there is no insulin. So what's a type 2 diabetic? Well, the type 2 diabetic converts, they consume that carbohydrate. Their body converts it to glucose, just like everybody else. The glucose goes out to the bloodstream. It signals the pancreas to secrete insulin. And this time the pancreas does. It secretes the insulin just fine. The insulin goes out to the bloodstream. But here's the problem. The cell doesn't respond to it because the cell is insulin resistant. Now, what happens next? A lot like that type 1 diabetic, the glucose levels don't normalize. In fact, they start to climb and climb and climb. And as they climb, what happens? This is what's kind of crazy. This is where it's separate from the type 1. Well, as the glucose levels climb, that's what signals the pancreas to secrete insulin. So while the person is becoming more and more and more hyperglycemic, that's the term for elevated glucose, they are also becoming more and more and more hyperinsulinemic, or elevated insulin. And the hyperinsulinemia, that little word right there, and I say little word, that's not a little word at all, it's a long word. Hyperinsulinemia, that is what's causing the problem. See, we are overwhelming the cells with insulin, and they become resistant because of it. So if we want to reverse the insulin resistance, all we have to do is focus on that. Now, this article right here, I somewhat disagree with them on how to reverse type insulin resistance, but what I do like is that they acknowledge that it can be reversed. And if you can reverse insulin resistance, well, then guess what? You can also reverse type 2 diabetes. In fact, type 2 diabetes is always reversible. It's easy. It can be done. And we're going to talk about that. And of course, I've been talking a lot about type 2 diabetes, but I said earlier that we're going to be talking about weight and cholesterol issues and hypertension and all sorts of things. I want to introduce this gentleman tonight. This guy has made a profound impact in my life, and I think you guys will find to be a similar case with you. I would suggest you get a box of tissue because he has this effect on me anyway. What's up, brother? How are you?
Doing good.
Dean. Folks, meet Dean. Dean came across, I'm going to let you tell the story, Dean, but Dean came across me a little while ago and started this product about 6 weeks ago.
Yes.
Okay.
No, not quite a month.
Not quite a month ago. Okay. Oh, there he goes. Yeah. All right, Dean. So, talk to me, brother. Where were you at? Where was your health when you came across me? Where was your health when you came across the videos? And where are you at today?
I had a stroke, and it led me my right side, whole right side, no leg, no arm, no stomach muscles, facial swallowing, the eye, the whole 9 yards. And I was managing my glucose before, but not my insulin. And I think that's what kind of threw it overboard to getting a stroke.
I want to just intervene here. So you had a stroke.
Yeah.
You were managing your glucose, but you were not managing your insulin, which now you know to be kind of the big deal, right?
Yeah.
And it led you to the stroke. How
Yeah.
long did you have diabetes for type 2?
About 18 years.
18 years.
Yeah. And they had kept upping my medication, giving me nothing. And
So year over year, they just kept on adding more medications.
So I finally said enough's enough and just quit eating everything. And I was eating mainly chicken and fish and vegetables, and every now and then I had something different, but I wasn't a big person. Biggest I've been is 180.
Okay. 180 pounds.
But
and how tall are you?
how old? I'm 62.
No, how tall are you?
5'8".
5'8". You were 180 pounds at your biggest. Okay.
Yeah.
You were eating a diet full of fish. You were eating a diet full of vegetables.
Yes.
You were medicated so you were managing your type 2. And I want to just emphasize that, brother. You were managing your type 2 diabetes, which is what we're taught to do. We're taught to manage type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
And you were, by the book, managing your type 2 diabetes. Your A1C, where was it at?
It was pre-diabetic.
Okay. So somewhere between like 5.7, 5 and 6.5, somewhere in that ballpark.
2.2 to
6.2. Okay. But you've been doing that for 18 years.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's been getting good, but not. If I let go, if I didn't look at it, then I had type 2 diabetes. I mean, it was only like that. Just eating something wrong. And since I've been taking this, I manage my glucose a whole lot better. It went from about 120 down to 90 to 110 at the best. That's like 2 hours a day, and I take it all the time now. Yeah.
So within a first couple 3 weeks, you would see numbers from like 120, where your postprandial, that's your 2 hours after you eat glucose, was like 120s, 130, something like that. And within a couple 3 weeks, you were in the 90s and the low 100s within a couple of weeks. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And I got more in than I know what to do with. I could only walk about 8,000 steps a day, and then I would get up the next morning and I'll be sore.
Now wait a minute. Hold on. You're saying that you would walk 8,000 feet, 8,000 steps per day.
Yeah.
Now, what the audience doesn't know, you've mentioned that you had a stroke, and it's basically kind of rendered the right side of your body somewhat, for a lack of a better term, somewhat useless, right? It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You told me that below your knee.
Yeah.
Below your knee is
down. I don't have much control of it. It just swings.
8,000 steps a day. Now, what you've told me is these walks that you'll go on, and he's going out and trying to get exercise, these will take like 2 hours in the morning.
Yes.
Around the blocks, the neighborhood, and such. Okay.
Now I get up and I get around and I walk continuously 10 to 12,000 steps in the first couple of hours. I walk 16 or more during the day, and I've done up to 23, and I thought I wouldn't get out of bed. I thought my wife would have to help me. But I haven't been sore or anything. And
Let me just back this up a little bit. You're walking 10 to 12,000 steps continuously now.
that's,
Generally 14 to 16,000 per day. Your top
Yeah.
was 23,000 in one day.
yes,
And you're waking up, you're not really sore. You're feeling like you can get out before. Now, something I think for context, Dean, how many steps were you walking before the system?
before the system,
Yeah.
about 8,000 a day.
8,000.
Yeah, total.
8,000.
And
So
then
you've doubled your production just in steps.
Yeah. probably the most I could do one time would be about 3 to 4,000, and I was wore out.
So 3 to 4,000 steps and you're done. That's a day for now. Then you go back, rest, and then get in for another 3 to 4,000 somewhere else. Now you're doing 10 to 12,000 continuous.
Yes.
This is, by the way, everybody listening, this is inside of 4 weeks. By the way, just for reference, your stroke was February of 25, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so about a little over a year ago, 14 months.
And I have no use of my right arm as of now.
Okay. Keep going, brother. What else have you had happen?
I laid the weights in the garage for my other arm, and I doubled it to the amount of reps that I do every day, and it's been good. Everything doesn't come sore. I'm sleeping a little better, and the other thing is going to the bathroom. The last couple of days, I've been able to go. By myself, just naturally, without a key or enema or anything. And it's made a big difference.
I think people take for granted that thing right there. You're able to go by yourself.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit. Okay. Let me just rewind a little bit. You're able to do some curls with the good arm,
Yes.
and you're able to double that output.
Yes.
You're getting better sleep, and your restroom schedule in the last few days, you've noticed that now you're able to go to the restroom by yourself. And again, I think most of us would take that for granted until you've walked a mile in Dean's shoes. So you're feeling some of that self-dignity restored. Okay.
And I have a hook for my right hand. That hook away 10 pounds weight and let it hold the weight while I lift with my other hand. Which I wasn't able to do that before. It would just hurt more in the shoulder and upper arm. It was just, I can't hold anything with the hand, but I can put a hook on, strap it to my leg.
Dean, you mentioned to me earlier today something as silly as yawning. What have you noticed with yawning?
Well, whenever I yawn, my right hand comes up and it goes towards my mouth like it's going to feed me.
The average person doesn't think about that. When you yawn, oh my gosh, it feels so good to yawn. You don't even realize that. That is the arm that he hasn't done that with for over a year. And just kind of out of nowhere, your arm is beginning to kind of take that action back, right?
Yeah. And then I control it going down somewhat. Now I can't really control the arm. If I send a signal to it to grab something or to move, it doesn't.
Dean, brother, I want to get a little bit more personal here, okay?
Okay.
What did you do for a living, my friend?
I was a mechanic,
A diesel mechanic.
diesel mechanic on truck.
You ran a shop.
Yes,
You had a bunch of employees. You took care of the truck drivers. You were the big boss man, right?
yes,
Okay. This stroke hit you while you were working. I mean, maybe not. You weren't actually at work, but
yeah, I was at work.
Oh, you were at work.
Yes,
Okay. And needless to say, you're not out there turning wrenches,
no.
right?
Well, I was the last weekend. I pulled a transmission or half full transmission on pickup, and I pulled in, put the engine back.
On Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday.
It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
On Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you were able to pull the transmission out of a pickup truck and then the motor.
Yes, and dress one and put it back in.
On Sunday, you put the motor back in on a
Yeah.
truck. 2013.
Yeah,
You were just telling me it's a 5300. You went to a 6.2 liter and LS3. You upgraded this truck. And I think everybody would say, hey, that's a pretty cool upgrade, man. You really upgraded this truck.
yeah,
But the takeaway, Dean, is that you did it.
yeah. The guy was helping me, the owner of it, but he's no mechanic.
You did this.
Yes. Yes.
How did that feel, my friend?
Very good. Rewarding.
Rewarding.
Yes.
I think what people have to understand is this is what you did to provide a plate of food for your family for 40 years.
Yes.
And then it was taken away, and you didn't think you'd ever be able to do it again.
No.
And within a month, here you are.
Yeah.
That's incredibly powerful, my friend.
Yeah.
Incredibly powerful. Dean.
Yes.
You did it to me. I'm going to get into how this thing works. Before I shut your camera off, my friend, do you have anything that you would like to say to this audience here?
Just stay with it. It really works. And I am really energy now in what I really know what to do with. And it's amazing. Truly is.
I like to say, Dean, the motto for Unicity is make life better.
Yes. It has.
It has made life better for you.
Yes. By far.
We're just getting started, my friend.
Yes.
I don't know if you're seeing these comments or not, brother. Blenda, Dean, you're awesome. Susan, we all want to feel useful and worthy. Elaine, oh, goodness. Geez, Louise, guys. You're an inspiration. Thanks for sharing, Dean. Brother, keep on trucking, Dean, says Blenda. Okay. Brother, I'm going to explain how these products work. And I told you, normally I would cut you free, but you said, hey, you'll stick around. If that's the case, I'm going to go ahead and shut the camera off. But if you want to kind of hang out backstage until the end of the live stream, I would love to have you back out here in case anybody has any questions for you.
Okay.
You're getting a lot of love here, brother. Lots and lots and lots of love. Look at that. Sending you hugs. Yeah, lots and lots. Thank you for sharing such a personal experience. Lisa says, my husband's a mechanic. Day by day, you are an overcomer. God heal him completely. There you go, brother. All right, Dean. Let me, geez, Louise, brother. Can't do that anymore. All right, buddy. I will bring you back here in a little bit. Okay, Dean?
All right.
Okay. Golly, blessed. God, I think somebody's carving onions in my kitchen. Oh, okay. Does anybody, how cool was that story, huh? That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And I can't wait to see where Dean's at in a year from now. This is a month, 1 month. I cannot wait to see where he's at in a year. Okay, so let's talk about these systems. Let's talk about the products and the systems. What I want to do is I want to talk about 2 great products and 1 great practice. And so I've talked a little bit about what is insulin resistance, what causes it, hyperinsulinemia, and then what does it cause. To get to this piece, I want to talk about this guy right here. Let's see. Bear with me. There we go. Okay. This right here, if you go over to Google and type in Dr. Ben Bikman into Google and hit that AI mode, Dr. Ben Bikman is a renowned metabolic research scientist and professor of cell biology at Brigham Young University, BYU. If you guys aren't familiar with BYU, BYU is one of, if not the top university in Utah. And at Utah, Dr. Bikman teaches cell biology and physiology. If you see an endocrinologist, well, this is one of the courses that Dr. Bikman teaches. He teaches endocrinology. And he is widely perceived to be one of the top metabolic scientists in the world, and he specializes in something called insulin resistance. He investigates the molecular mechanisms that cause the body to stop responding to insulin and how this disruption fuels chronic illness. Now, if you like, you can see his page on BYU's website, and again, you'll see cell biology and physiology, and his research interests. The research of the focus of my lab, which is the Laboratory of Obesity and Metabolism. And I'm just going to stop right there. The focus of my lab, which is the Laboratory of Obesity and Metabolism. See, Dr. Bikman grows fat cells for a living. He's a fat scientist. He is not a fat scientist. He is a fat scientist. He studies fat and the disease that accompanies it. And he needs insulin, and I'll let him explain this in just a moment. He needs insulin to do that. And because of that, he pays particular emphasis on the etiology of insulin resistance. Now, let me explain why insulin is so important to his work. And rather than me explain it, I'm going to have him explain it. So this is Dr. Bikman on a podcast a while back. And if you'd like, this is on my YouTube channel, The Healthy Pitmaster. You can go to the YouTube channel and watch this video over and over and over again. But listen to Dr. Ben Bikman explain insulin and its role in fat.
First thing, and this will blow some minds, you cannot have a fat cell grow unless insulin is elevated. It is totally, completely, utterly impossible. Now, I know people want to say, oh, well, calories matter too. They do matter. But if you just take out that one single variable, if you deprive a fat cell of insulin, it cannot grow. 100% full stop. Take this from a guy who literally grows fat cells in my lab all the time. In a human model, you even see this. If you have a person with type 1 diabetes, they can eat 10,000 calories in a day. And all they do is skip an insulin injection and they will be as skinny as they want. In fact, this is so well known to that diabetic that it's a known eating disorder. It's more of a hormone disorder. But if they just skip their insulin injection, they'll be as skinny as they want. It's a condition called diabulimia. You only eliminate one single variable, the insulin. They cannot not only grow fat, they can't even hold on to it. So as much as calories matter, and they do, insulin is an absolutely necessary signal to tell the fat cell to grow.
So I believe that's just fascinating. And I want to kind of just do a little bit of a I don't know, a game here. Think about the type 1s and the type 2s that you know. First off, the type 1 diabetics, you probably don't know a whole lot of them at all. They're about 1% of the overall population. They're very few and far between. If you do know them, they're the ones that were diagnosed probably at 7 or 8 or 10 years old, young kids. And if you were to think about them, they're probably all generally thin. They're skinny. Generally, maybe not always, but generally speaking. Now, if you think about the type 2 diabetics, the people like me, I was 5'11", 265 pounds. I was not skinny. I was obese. I was very sick. And what's the difference between a type 1 and a type 2 is the presence of insulin. So a type 1 has none. And as Dr. Ben Dickman said, when there is no insulin, not only can the fat cell not grow, but it can't retain the fat. It cannot hold on to it. It has to let it go. And so the presence of insulin, the type 1 has none. The type 2, on the other hand, is hyperinsulinemic. They've got it just coursing through their veins. So now if you've been wrestling with that pesky body weight, you're trying to get the love handles to come off a little bit. Now you know why. Now, Dr. Ben Dickman has a website. It's called insuliniq.com. Let me just pull this up really quick. And I'm going to encourage everybody, check out this website. And I always like to point out, I have no affiliation with this. I'm just a really big fan of Ben Dickman. I think he's changing lives. I think he's positively impacting lives. And I think anybody who wants to learn about metabolic health, they should listen to the top metabolic scientist in the world. This is his website, okay? On that website, you can order his book. And again, I have no affiliation. I'm not making any commission off of pushing his book. If you want to learn what's making you sick, read his book, Why We Get Sick. Throughout this book, he gives you not only the reasons why we're getting sick, but he'll show you the clinical studies as to where he's referencing, things he's talking about. Go and check out that book. It will change your life. Now, on that website, on Insulin IQ, I found this image. Now, this image, I believe, is super, super powerful. Insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is the root cause of so many things like heart disease, obesity, migraine, headaches, dementia, osteoarthritis, childhood obesity, PCOS, fatty liver disease, arthritis, Alzheimer's disease, erectile dysfunction, sarcopenia, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and of course, stroke. Dean. Now, the interesting thing is insulin resistance is the root cause for type 2 diabetes. Now, I don't know if you guys heard it or not, but Dean said he was managing his type 2 diabetes for 18 years. That means that insulin resistance was still there, whether he had the full-on type 2 or not, it was still there. And because he never dealt with it, guess what? Another symptom popped up, and that symptom completely crippled him. Okay, that's what this thing is. So we don't want to manage things that are top 10. By the way, if you look at this, type 2 diabetes, top 10 cause of death. Stroke, top 10 cause of death. Heart disease, number 1 cause of death. Fatty liver, part of cirrhosis of the liver, top 10 cause of death. Alzheimer's disease, top 10 cause of death. Many forms of cancer, neuropathy, kidney failure, another top 10 cause of death. 7 of the top 10 causes of death can be attributed to insulin resistance. In fact, Dr. Bittman would go so far as to say, if it's not something that's transmissible, like a cold or a flu, it probably has something to do with insulin resistance. And so as we look at this image over here, how many of those resonate with you? How many of those symptoms right there? And I want you to think of it like that. It's a symptom. See, I was taught to believe that type 2 diabetes was chronic and progressive disease. It's a dang symptom of insulin resistance. And guys, I'm not saying this. This is Dr. Bickman's image. Okay, so a person heals faster with hope. The FGS protocol opens the door to hope. Because of the results, the body responds with when it's consistently consumed. Thank you for that, Mary. I don't know Mary. This is just really cool. When people just chime in and they're just telling their story. Okay, so we've talked about what is insulin resistance, what causes it, what does it cause? Basically, everything. Everything. I mentioned earlier skin tags. Do you have skin tags? Do you have mental health issues? There's connections between just about all of treatment-resistant bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, all sorts of mental health issues. Anyway, so now that we've kind of talked about what does it cause, let's talk about what is the Feel Great system. First off, the Feel Great system is it's one great practice, two great products, as I said. So hyperinsulinemia, we're always going to keep our eyes on that thing right there, elevated insulin, because once we understand that elevated insulin is what's causing the cells to stop responding, hyperinsulinemia. Okay, what causes that? Well, glucose, elevated glucose. What causes elevated glucose? Well, okay, let's go back to that. The average human being needs about 1 teaspoon of sugar in their entire bloodstream to be considered perfectly regulated. This is throughout any point of the day. If at any point of the day we were to look at the average human being and be able to measure all of the glucose on a perfectly regulated bloodstream, there'd be about 1 teaspoon. Okay, there's 13 teaspoons in 1 Mountain Dew. How many of those get drank nationally per year, right? Now, how much sugar does the average person eat? Sugar is a 65 on the glycemic index. Sucrose is a 65 on the glycemic index. White bread can get up to 100. That means that it's going to spike your blood sugar higher and faster than table sugar. White bread, how often do we eat that? Potatoes, white rice, these things are all very high on the glycemic index. So when we eat them, our body converts it to glucose rapidly, and we get these huge glucose swings. Now, what does that cause? A big insulin response. Remember, hyperinsulinemia, elevated insulin. So right out the gate, let's walk through the average standard American diet, okay? The average American's diet. What do? We wake up in the morning and we have a cup of sugary coffee. Maybe this isn't you, but let's play stereotype the entire United States, and let's just say the average American's going to wake up to a sugary cup of coffee. Is that fair? And then what do? They might have a slice of toast. They might have a bowl of cereal, a bowl of oatmeal. The American Diabetes Association recommends oatmeal, carbohydrates. What's that going to do? Spike the glucose right away. What's that going to do? Cause an insulin response right away. Okay. Then what do? We move on. We get ready for work. We start heading down the road. We grab a second cup of sugary coffee. If you're like me, when I was driving truck, I used to switch over to Mountain Dew at that point. So by 8 o'clock in the morning, I was drinking Mountain Dew. How unhealthy is that? And then we go for a healthy snack, a granola bar, more carbs, more starchy. Maybe you go for a bagel, maybe a donut, something like this. And then we get to maybe just a bag of fruit, something like that, right? Then we get to lunch. And what is lunch? Lunch in the United States, I would argue, is some sort of a flour and a potato. Now let me elaborate on that. A flour and a potato. Flour is the root for noodles, doughs, breads. Okay, so we have some sort of a flour and then some sort of potato. So we're talking about French fries, baked potatoes, potato chip, something like that. I would argue that's the lunch. And then mid-afternoon, we all have this massive crash, right? We're just out of energy, exhausted. And so what do? We turn to an energy drink, maybe a Red Bull, maybe a Monster. Maybe you go for a bag of chips. That's what I used to do, go for a bag of chips and a soda. More sugar. And then we get to dinner. And what's dinner? Dinner is more flour and more potatoes. Am I right? And if it's not flour and potatoes, rice. More starchy. Okay. And then end of the day, what do? We give ourselves a cookie or a scoop of ice cream or some sort of a sweet treat because we deserve it. It's been a long day and I deserve it. And so what have we really done throughout the entire day is we've spiked our glucose all day long. Every time we spike it, the insulin is forced to go up. Now it tries to come down. Remember, it could take 6 or 8 or more hours for the insulin levels to normalize, but we never give it 6 or 8 hours. It's always up. And so our insulin levels are staying elevated all day long. We are chronically elevated insulin, bell to bell, hyperinsulinemic. And the question begins, okay, when did that begin? Did you start doing that yesterday or last week or last month or last year or last decade? Did you start doing it in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s? When did you start doing that? And I would be willing to bet you probably started doing that your entire life. And along the way, your body started becoming more and more and more insulin resistant, and it started to give you things like migraine headaches, like skin tags, like elevated blood pressure. At some point, it became really challenging to keep the weight off. Well, that's because your blood vessels are just coursing with insulin. It's really difficult to switch your body over to fat burning mode when you've got so much insulin in your bloodstream. And all along, our body's been telling us, hey, we got a problem. And what do? We take a Motrin for the headache. We take lisinopril for the blood pressure. We take atorvastatin for the cholesterol. We never address the root cause. Am I right? Am I at least hovering over the target here? So let's dive into this. What is the easiest, most cost-effective thing that you can do to break that cycle? And it's intermittent fasting. Skip a meal. What happens when you skip a meal? Well, when you stop eating, you're not putting any food into your mouth, so your body doesn't have anything to convert to glucose. So what happens? Your glucose levels begin to normalize. And as your glucose levels normalize, what happens to your insulin? Guess what? It starts to normalize as well. Now, as Dr. Bickman said, in the absence of insulin, what happens? The fat cell begins to shrink. As the fat cell shrinks, what does your body use for energy? That. It starts burning fat for energy. So insulin, it's a storer of energy. It's a placer of energy. It tells the body which energy source to use. It can either burn glucose or it can burn fat. And we hear about people, oh, I'm burning fat right now. That's what it literally means. Your body starts burning fat instead of glucose. Now, because of our eating habits, because we're eating every 2 hours, every hour and a half, we got a bag of chips on the table, we got a thing of cookies, we got something always. We're just always nibbling. Our bodies never go into fat burning mode. When we fast, the glucose levels normalize and then the insulin levels normalize. Now, once we're out of that hyperinsulinemic state, guess what starts to happen? We start to resensitize the cells to the insulin. Voila. That's what you're trying to do. That's what you want to do. Resensitize your cells to the insulin. At the same time, you start burning fat for energy. And we hear a lot of people saying, hey, I think fasting is dangerous. I've heard fasting is dangerous. Man, think about a bear. I always like to talk about a bear in hibernation. What does a bear do during the fall? It eats and eats and eats and eats and eats. It gets fat. Why is it getting fat? It's doing it purposefully. Why? So that when it hibernates, it will live off of its fat. It survives on its fat. Your fat on your body is there for a reason. Our bodies are, by the way, just so that you know, and I think you probably already do know, our bodies are brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. They know how to keep themselves alive in spite of what we do to them, right? We're eating absolute garbage. We're fueling them with dumpster junk, and it still stays alive. It's like, hey, man, I don't know how to do it. Let's make an adjustment. And it starts making adjustments. It starts increasing this and pushing this down, and it's doing what it can do to keep us alive in spite of what we're doing to it. Our bodies are absolutely brilliant. And so when we stop eating, our body says, hey, let's start using something else for fuel. All that stored fat, that's why it's there. That was what your body was doing. It was saving that for a rainy day. It was saving for the day that you didn't have breakfast. It was like, hey, finally going to use this stuff I've been sitting on for a while. Literally, the stuff I've been sitting on. That's funny. Okay, so intermittent fasting. Now, there are all types of fasting schedules that you can do. You could do this for 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours, 3 days, 10 days, 30 days like Gandhi did. We're just going to talk about 16. Fasting for 16 hours and giving ourselves an eating window of 8 hours. Now, what does this really look like? Okay. For me and for most of us on Field Grade System, what we're doing is we start fasting at 8 p.m. And from 8 p.m. until noon, we don't put any food into our mouth. We don't eat. Okay. We've shut down that process. And what does that do? That forces the glucose levels to normalize and then the insulin levels. Now, during this fasting period, I might think, oh my gosh, I'm starving. No, I just had dinner. I'm actually quite full. I've had dinner. I ate enough food. It was a nutritious enough meal that I'm fine. I don't need any more food. I'm good to go. If I find myself in the pantry or the fridge, it's probably because of a bad habit, not because I need fueling. So at 8 p.m., I'm done. Discipline. Get through the night. But what happens? You go to sleep. Okay? And you sleep most of the fast off, and you wake up, and what do you have to do? You have to skip breakfast. That's the level of commitment we're talking about here, is skipping breakfast. And at noon, we can break our fast. And if you love breakfast, you're like, man, I want to have my bacon and eggs. Well, have your breakfast when you break your fast. That's what breakfast is, break fast. When are you going to break your fast? And at noon, if you want to have bacon and eggs because you love bacon and eggs, I do too. Have them at noon when you break your fast. Now, what we're not going to do is sit there and nibble in that eating window. We're going to eat a big enough lunch, and it's filling enough and nutritious enough that we're not going to want more food until dinner. And when we get to dinner, we're going to do the same thing. Lather, rinse, repeat. Easy enough. Now, I want to just ask the audience real quick, what does it cost to fast? What does it cost you to skip a meal? How much money does it cost you to skip breakfast? Nothing. In fact, you're putting money in that back pocket. Now, that money right there, we're going to talk about how to spend it. Okay. Now we're going to get to the two great products. And what I'm going to do is I want to talk about Unimate. This is product number one with the Feel Great system. And it's available in a variety of different flavors. These are the caffeinated options: lemon, lemon ginger, and raspberry pomegranate. All three of them are amazing, absolutely amazing. I am addicted to Team Lemon Ginger. I'm lemon ginger. I will have a lemon occasionally. The raspberry palm is actually excellent on a hot day. Drink it carbonated with one of those little sodas. It's amazing. But I like drinking, personally, lemon ginger. What's the audience? What's your favorite flavor? I'm Team Lemon Ginger. Anyway, we've also, for those people that are caffeine sensitive, we've got two different flavors here as well. We've got lemon in decaf, and we've got a chocolate mint brownie in decaf as well. I'm actually sipping on that right now. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so let's talk about this product. Unimate is based off of yerba mate, and maybe you've heard of yerba mate before. It's the most widely consumed drink in South America and has been for 500 to 1,000 years. In fact, it's the national drink of Argentina. It's indigenous to the regions of South America that are now Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, parts of Uruguay. Now, the native people, the indigenous people of that region would say that it gave them an amazing boost of energy, mental clarity. They would refer to it as the drink of the gods. What is it about this drink that does that? There's something inside of it that's called chlorogenic acid. And I'm not going to go into too much of the science. I did a deeper dive on that last week. But let's just say that chlorogenic acid, it helps appetite suppression. It helps regulate blood glucose. It helps regulate lipids. It helps with blood pressure. It induces GLP-1. Maybe you've heard of that. This class of medications like Ozempic, Mounjaro, Trulicity, Zepbound, Wegovy, Rybelsus, Saxenda, semaglutide, tirzepatide, liraglutide, retatrutide. All those are GLP-1s. They're actually GLP-1 receptor agonists. Well, chlorogenic acid, the thing inside of yerba mate, induces the hormone GLP-1. By the way, that's what that is. It's a hormone, and your body produces it, GLP-1. Now, some interesting things happen when you're drinking this tea. What this tea is it's a yerba mate extract, and that means that we still hand harvest the leaf in those regions of the world. We don't try and grow that here in the United States. We still roast it. That's really the only way to get the nutrients out of it. And then we extract the good things like that chlorogenic acid and theobromine and mate saponins and antioxidants, all these wonderful things that are naturally occurring in yerba mate, and we concentrate it. And what we end up with is a concentrated extract version of that yerba mate. It's based on that plant. It is plant-based, okay? But this has about 20 times the chlorogenic acid of a typical cup of yerba mate and about 10 times the chlorogenic acid of a typical cup of coffee. This is, in fact, to the best of my knowledge, I don't know of anybody else that has a more concentrated version than this right here. Now, what you can expect from this is appetite suppression. While you're fasting in the morning, sip on your drink, your yerba mate, whatever flavor it is, just sip on it. What you want to do, don't chug it. I actually, rather than drinking it out of the, you're going to get a bottle like this when you order. I actually drink it out of a 30-ounce Yeti tumbler. I enjoy this. I drink it hot, and when I sip on that hot, it takes me about 2 to 3 hours to drink it. That's key. sipping on it. Now, when that drink is done, you'll get a second one, drink the second one, just kind of right away. Just start drinking it right away. What you're going to find is energy, mental clarity, focus. Oh my goodness, the focus that you'll get. If you find yourself the food noise, that goes away. What you're going to also find is blood pressure will begin to normalize. You're also going to see, well, let's get into some of the science behind it. Dr. Ben Bickman, that gentleman that I was talking about earlier, he's actually studied this product, Unimate. And right here, this is published research done by Dr. Ben Bickman. You'll see it was October of 2023, and it looks at yerba mate supplement, and you'll see Dr. Ben Bickman's name right there. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see he specifically names Unicity. He did this research on this product, and what he found was that, in effect, it made your body a more efficient fat burner. It made you burn fat easier. Who doesn't want to do that? This stuff right here, literally clinically proven, peer-reviewed, published research showing that it does just that. It makes you a more efficient fat burner. But Dr. Bickman also observed some GLP-1 benefits. And I want to just play a video by Dr. Bickman really quick. This one right here, Dr. Bickman talking about an increase in GLP-1 production when drinking this drink.
That I'll be sharing at a meeting in March in Las Vegas is that this yerba mate supplement called Unimate also increases GLP-1. We found in this experiment we did, the GLP-1 levels went up by about 70% in a fasted state, which is pretty considerable.
Listen to that. GLP-1 went up by 70% in a fasted state, which is pretty considerable by drinking this. Okay, so that is product number one. Let's talk about product number two. To talk about product number two, I want to just kind of talk about cholesterol and blood glucose, okay? Product number two was developed by Rexall Pharmacy in the late 80s. Maybe you remember Rexall, maybe you don't. At one point, Rexall was the largest pharmacy chain in North America with about 11,600 stores. For reference point, there's about 13,000 McDonald's today. So about as frequently as you'd see a McDonald's today, you would have seen a Rexall in its heyday. Well, they developed this. You'll see the Rexall logo on the back. They're still around. They're just not quite as prominent as they once were. Anyway, this thing right here. Let's talk about what Unicity does. And it started with Rexall. You could drink yerba mate. Yerba mate is wonderful. It's been drank for years. What they did was they took an excellent product and improved upon it. Now, in the 80s, there were a lot of companies coming out with these fiber blends. There was these fiber supplements. There was like Metamucil and Benefiber and all these companies. And truthfully, companies like that, they hit a home run with them. They were just making money hand over fist. Procter & Gamble owns Metamucil. They were making a lot of money off of Metamucil, and Rexall Pharmacy, being a good business, said, hey, maybe we could do something there. But they wanted to improve it. Just like they did with yerba mate, they wanted to improve upon it. And so what they did, they look at the competition. Well, this is psyllium husk. This is one basic type of fiber. Let's look at, are there other fibers maybe we should look at? And so what they did was they went and they found a fiber that does good with triglycerides. They found another fiber that helps with glucose regulation, and then LDL. And they said, hey, what if we put all those together? And so what BioSlife is a blend of 7 different plant-based fibers. Each one of them has its own unique thing that it does. It's not just a single source. But at the same time, in the 80s, there was this wave of multivitamins coming out, Centrum and the Flintstones vitamins. There were all these multivitamins coming out, and Rexall, being the good business people, said, hey, what if we took the multivitamin and put it into there too? Would it be easier for people to take it every day? Would they be more consistent with it? Would they appreciate that? And that's what BioSlife is. BioSlife is a blend of 7 different plant-based fibers and a multivitamin. Now, if you are concerned about your cholesterol, well, let's just talk about this. Let me turn this thing on. This study right here. This is, by the way, PubMed. It's an official website of the United States government. And you'll notice the publication date here was September of 2002, and this is Metabolism Journal. And they looked at a fiber and multivitamin combination therapy. What they wanted to know was, does this thing really matter? Fiber and multivitamin combination. Well, if you click that little DOI thing right below the title, you'll see this. It takes you to the actual publication. This is Metabolism Journal. Now, unfortunately, all you can do is read the abstract right here. You can't read the whole thing unless you download the full issue, or you can go to unicityscience.org. unicityscience.org. Go check that out. If you're like me, you'll love to geek out in that science section. Now, what this study is, it's what they call a double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized clinical trial. It was peer-reviewed, it was published, and you can see right here, it's been cited 20 times. This is very, very powerful research. Now, this is the actual research right here. And you will notice that it was done at the preventative cardiology section of the Cleveland Clinic. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Cleveland Clinic, this is widely perceived to be the top heart hospital in North America, and truthfully, one of the best hospitals in the world for cardiovascular, for hearts. This is the place to go. And if you just scroll down a little ways, you will see the fiber tested was BioSlife. Remember this little packet right here? BioSlife. And the LDL response, if you are concerned about your bad cholesterol, that's the LDL, well, they addressed that. By the time of the interim visit, which was 4 weeks after randomization, the treatment group demonstrated significantly lower LDL-C than the placebo group. That trend continued through the next 4 weeks to the end of the blinded phase. Significantly lower LDL. That is a very powerful statement by the top heart hospital in the United States. And if you want to see what significantly lower looks like, just come here. Here it is. There you can actually go, and they published the numbers. And if you scroll down a little bit further, you will see that they said such a product, if taken regularly, could reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis and potentially decrease the need and or dose for lipid-lowering prescription drugs. Now, those are statins. America's top heart hospital, the Cleveland Clinic, suggested more than 20 years ago that BioSlife was out. Hey, guys, there's something else here. Maybe we should look at this. Now, why do you suppose you've never heard of BioSlife? Okay, so what we have now is we've got products that compete with Ozempic, Mounjaro, Zepbound, right? We've got products that compete with lisinopril, losartan for blood pressure. We've got products that compete with atorvastatin, rosuvastatin, statin medications. We've got products that are competing with the pharmaceutical industry, but there are no drug interactions, no side effects, no adverse reactions, no contraindications. There's nothing like this. These are plant-based products. And what we have is a lot of research. Now, another thing to this set of products is you can use your health savings account on them. You can use your flex spending account for them. If you have Apple, you can use Apple Pay, which allows for Klarna, which allows for what's the other one? I can't think of it right now. Anyway, but the products cost $159 per month. It's about $5 per day. Remember your fasting window? Remember you're not eating breakfast? That's $8 right there. The system is covered by the fast. This is what we call a cost neutral. Now, what if you start coming off some medications? What if you start to feel absolutely amazing? If you'd like to try these products, get with the person who referred you to this live stream. I hope this live stream has been of value to you. I hope you've learned something during this live stream. I'm going to bring Dean back out here in a moment. I hope you've learned something in this. Get with the person who invited. I forgot to tell you, I brought this out. The products are also in the physician's desk reference. I didn't bring this little thing out today, but this doctor's Bible that's been around since 1946, both of these products. In fact, there are 18 different products in the physician's desk reference. So from Unicity, Metamucil's not in there, yerba mate's not in there. Both of these products are. Your doctor can look these up. There are no contraindications. There's no reason that you couldn't take these while you're taking your other medications, because these aren't medications. These are just perfect food. This is a science-based company putting out a food-based product. One final thing, Dr. Ben Bickman is the director of the Scientific Advisory Board. Unicity literally has the world's best metabolic scientist, top metabolic scientist, is the director of the Scientific Advisory Board. Let me go ahead and bring Dean back out here. If anybody has any questions for us, Susan says, can't put a price on feeling good. It is truly priceless. Well, I couldn't agree with that anymore, Susan. Okay, so Dean, while we're waiting to see if anybody has any questions, I want to just point out that there are going to be some skeptics out there. Everybody's a skeptic because there's a lot of snake oils out there. I get it. What do you say to that person? You've got 30 seconds, Dean. What would you say to somebody who's watching this and saying, that's too good to be true?
It is too good to be true. It really is. It works. And it's magic.
It's magic.
Yeah, magic.
I think it's safe to say it's giving you your life back.
Yeah. I also got my brain is thinking clear now. In my foot from the knee down, where it's throbbing, is starting to pick up a little.
It's throbbing. A little bit of sensation happening in the feet.
It is picking up. And it won't stay long, but it'll do it for a couple minutes.
There's something happening there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dane, this is giving you your life back, my friend. Brother, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on here, being so incredibly open with us, being sharing your story. This was powerful. Just know you have our, let's see, drop foot is improving, says Mary.
Yeah.
Just know you have our prayers and well wishes for continued recovery, says Susan.
Yeah.
Brother Dean, I appreciate you. You're amazing. And thank you for sharing your story with us and with the world. Folks, I'm going to be back next Wednesday night. If you're having an amazing experience on Field Grade System and you want to share it with the world, invite somebody out to this live stream next week. We're just taking on small pieces. A little bit every week. Hopefully we can impact one person's life. I want to leave it with this, Dean. There's 8 billion people on the planet. And trying to make everybody happy all at once seems like it's impossible. Like we can't ever all be happy, right? But what if we just said, hey, you know what? My goal is to make one person happy today. I'm going to make one individual person happy today. I think I can accomplish that. I think you could accomplish it. If you just set out one person every day, right? And then I did it to you. And then tomorrow, it wasn't just that. I had to go find somebody new, and Dean had to go find somebody new.
Yeah.
And then on day 3, Dean looked for somebody new. I looked for somebody new. But then the person that you did on your first day is looking for somebody new, right? The compounding effect. A week in, 2 weeks in, it doesn't seem like we've hardly gotten to anybody, 10,000 people, something like that. Well, there's 8 billion people on the planet. You know what? 40 days we've touched everybody. 40 days. The power of compounding is it's amazing. It's one. You just got to find one. And so I'm going to ask you, if you're having an amazing experience on this system, invite somebody back to our live stream next Wednesday night. Let's help one person begin their healing journey. Now, I also want to point out, if you don't want to listen to some random barbecue dude, I get it. There are doctors who talk about this as well. Dr. Dieter does a Zoom call on Sundays, Mondays. There is another, generally a medical professional. There's neuroscientists, endocrinologists, all sorts of them on Tuesday night. I do my live stream every Wednesday night. There's another doctor on Thursday. There are a lot of doctors talking about this. If you would like to hear a doctor tell you about the products that I just told you about, just get with the person who invited you here. They will get you in front of one of those live streams. So I'm not offended by anybody who wants to hear this from a doctor. The biggest thing is if you are sick and you're sick and tired of being sick and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, try something new. You know, my grandfather used to say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. And I think we do that as a society. Let's see. Thank you for this wonderful live. I'll be back with a friend. Mary, I love that. Let's do that. Everybody needs to do that. Bring one person next week. And you know what? In a couple of months, I bet we've got thousands of people on this live stream. That's where it's all going to start. Okay, so I want to just add one final piece, and I've been adding this to every live stream that I've been doing. This is a referral-based program. You're not going to see this stuff on commercials because, truthfully, we're not paid actors. Okay, like I've actually reversed type 2 diabetes. You just heard Dean's story. These are real people, real stories, and we are looking to make a real impact in the world. We've got a million-man mission. We want to help 1 million people with this program, and we can do it. And I know that we can do it. In fact, I have very unrealistic expectations of eradicating type 2 diabetes from the planet. And I can't do that by myself. We need a team. We need a lot of people talking about this. And so if the idea of talking about this and maybe earning a little bit of extra income, if something like that, if something I've said during this live stream has resonated with you and you think, you know what, I think I could get behind that kind of product. I think I want to talk about this. I think I want to make that part of my mission as well. If something I've said about that resonates with you and you want to learn a little bit more about the business side of this, get with the person who invited you here and they will gladly share it with you. There's never any sort of pressure to do anything like that. We don't want people who don't want to do it. So you're not going to get high pressured into something. But if you're looking for something, boy, does this feel good. Okay? Dean, I appreciate you, my friend.
Sure.
You know what? I can't believe this. I forgot. There's a 90-day money-back guarantee, guys. We guarantee happiness. Try these products for 90 days. If you're dissatisfied, you get all of your money back. I can't believe I nearly forgot that. That means it's been a long day, Dean. Dean, I appreciate you, brother. And we will talk to you later, folks.